Most people quit Faceless YouTube far too early, not because it doesn't work, and not because they've picked the wrong niche, but because no one tells them how long progress actually takes. So in this video, I want to talk honestly about timelines, what working really looks like, and why slow, quiet growth is often a sign things are going exactly as they should. I'm Ernie, the reliable researcher with a trusty clipboard, and let's start with the first uncomfortable reality, which is Faceless YouTube is not slow because YouTube is punishing you. It's slow because YouTube doesn't know who you are yet. When you create a new channel, especially a faceless one, the algorithm has very little to go on. No personality signals, no facial recognition data, no established audience behavior. All it has is content, context, and time. And time is the bit most people underestimate. In the early weeks, YouTube is essentially testing your videos in very small, very cautious batches. A handful of impressions here, a few suggested placements there. It's just enough to observe how real humans respond. Do they click and do they stay, or do they leave immediately and never return? At this stage, your job is not to go viral. Your job is to give YouTube something it can safely understand. And that means clarity over cleverness, and consistency over creativity, and restraint over noise. Now let's talk about the first phase most faceless channels go through. I call this the invisible phase. This usually lasts anywhere from 30 to 90 days, depending on niche, upload frequency, and how well your videos align with existing viewer demand. During this phase, views are low, sometimes painfully low. Analytics feel personal, even though they're not, and motivation is held together with logic rather than dopamine. But something important is happening in the background. YouTube is learning who your videos are for, not who they are about. Faceless channels live or die on this distinction. If your video clearly serves a purpose, solves a problem, or creates a specific environment, YouTube has something to work with. If it's vague, broad, or trying to appeal to everyone, it struggles. This is why ambient content, explainers, lists, and documentation channels often look dead for weeks and then suddenly show signs of life. They don't spike, they accumulate. Now, the second phase usually arrives quietly. I call this the signal phase. This is where you start seeing repeatable behavior in your analytics, even if the numbers are still modest. Maybe one video consistently outperforms the others. Or maybe watch time is holding steady instead of collapsing. Perhaps impressions slowly creep upward week by week rather than resetting to zero. This isn't success, this is signal. And signal matters far more than vanity metrics at this stage. YouTube begins grouping your content with similar videos, your thumbnails start appearing next to familiar formats, and your titles get tested against established expectations. Now, this is where most creators accidentally sabotage themselves. They panic, they pivot too hard, or they abandon the format just as the system is starting to recognize it. Faceless YouTube rewards people who let patterns finish forming before changing direction. Small tweaks beat dramatic resets every single time. Now let's talk about the phase everyone is secretly waiting for, the compounding phase. This is where Faceless YouTube becomes genuinely interesting. Usually somewhere between month 3 and month 6, assuming consistent uploads, something shifts. The older videos begin pulling views in without help. New uploads start with a higher baseline, and your channel feels less like a blank slate and more like a small, functioning library. This is where faceless channels quietly outperform personality-driven ones. You're not relying on energy, you're relying on usefulness. A calm explainer uploaded 6 months ago can suddenly out-earn your newest video. A background video can stack thousands of hours without ever trending. And because the content isn't tied to your mood, schedule, or face, burnout stays low. This is the part no one puts in thumbnails. At this point, it's worth addressing a common misunderstanding. Faceless YouTube is not passive in the beginning. It becomes passive later, precisely because it asks for patience up front. Most people reverse this expectation and get frustrated. They expect fast results and long-term ease, when the reality is slower beginnings and easier maintenance over time. This is also where tools matter, not for growth hacks or shortcuts, but for understanding what's actually happening. This is a great moment to mention VidIQ because it fits this stage very cleanly. VidIQ doesn't magically make videos blow up. What it does do is remove the guesswork. It shows you how your videos are being categorized, what keywords you're realistically competing against, where impressions are coming from and where they're not. For faceless creators especially, this matters because you don't have emotional feedback from an audience yet. Data becomes your compass. If you're building slowly and want confirmation that you're moving in the right direction, then VidIQ is one of the few tools that genuinely supports patience rather than fighting it. There's a link in the description if you want to explore it. It does support the channel and doesn't change the price for you. Now, back to the timeline. Another important truth. Faceless YouTube doesn't reward effort evenly. You can upload 10 videos and see nothing, then upload one more and unlock momentum across all 11. This feels unfair until you realize what YouTube is actually doing. It isn't scoring individual videos in isolation, it's assessing collections. Does this channel consistently satisfy a certain type of viewer? Does it deliver on a promise repeatedly, not just occasionally? Once this answer becomes yes, everything benefits retroactively. That's why older videos suddenly wake up. They weren't bad, they were just waiting for context. Let's also address the myth of daily uploads. You do not need to upload every day for Faceless YouTube to work. You need to upload predictably. Once or twice a week, done calmly and consistently, beats frantic daily posting that leads to burnout and abandonment. Remember, your advantage as a faceless creator is sustainability. If your system feels fragile, it won't survive long enough to compound. This is especially important if you're combining YouTube with other income streams like print on demand, digital downloads, or micro freelancing. Your channel should support your life, not dominate it. So, what does results actually mean? This is the final reframing most people need. Results are not virality, they're reliability. A video that gets, say, 200 views every month for 2 years beats one that spikes and disappears. And a channel that quietly earns while you sleep beats one that demands constant performance. Faceless YouTube plays a long game on purpose. If that frustrates you, it's not the wrong model, it's just an honest one. So here's the real takeaway. Faceless YouTube doesn't ask for talent. It asks for clarity, patience, and the ability to keep going without the applause. If you choose formats that match your energy, timelines that respect reality, and systems that don't rely on hype, the results arrive quietly but steadily. And once they arrive, they tend to stick around. If you want the practical setup side of this, including how to choose the right faceless format, structure videos properly, and avoid the early mistakes that slow most channels down, watch the next video, which is Faceless YouTube Made Simple. I'll see you there.